Today we'll be installing a Smittybilt M1 off-road bumper on a 2007 Toyota FJ Cruiser. So as I said, this is a 2007 Toyota FJ Cruiser, and this video will be more for 2007 to 2009 Toyota FJ Cruisers. I have the Smittybilt bumper right over there, kind of halfway out of the box. I'm just gonna try to make this video as simple as possible, but it's going to be just basically a video of the instructions that I received in the box, and if those are accurate, how accurate those are, and I'm just going to go through the full installation, just going over the things that are in the box. And everything on this side, these are all the things that came in the box. Everything was individually wrapped in their own little bags that I've shoved down there. There's the bumper, it's in bubble wrap, and then there's the bumper mount that's in the other bubble wrap in the box. Everything on this side didn't come with, except for the lights. So the lights came in the box also, because this is the package that has the lights, and I'll be going through the installation of those too. And it also comes with two different thickness shims that I might have to use either one of these or both of these or neither of these, I'm not sure. And then as far as the instructions go, these are in black and white, and there is a PDF version that is in color that I will have the link to in the description. So if you want to click that and check it out, I do have that down below. And this is a winch mount amendment for the XRC and the X20 Gen 2 winch that it talks about in the color PDF version, but not the instructions that I got. This is a license plate relocation thing. This is a reservoir cover or reservoir access, and there's another one of these in the instructions, but I don't know why I have it. This is just a little nut bracket, nuts welded to a bar, and then the light kit is all in the box. The instructions, not bad. They lay out all the parts that you have. So these are all the parts. There's all the parts that are supposed to come with it. You have torques for all the bolts, so I like this because now you can follow the torque patterns and you can install it properly. And I have my torque wrench over there. All of these brackets were individually wrapped. I know this one is the little spacer for the AC line. It draws the AC line out a couple inches. The only difference that the instructions have between the 2007, 2009 and the 2010 to 2014 models is there is a section behind the headlight that needs to be cut. Some newer model vehicles will need to have the headlight mounting bracket trimmed before installing the new bumper. Now, this is actually wrong in the instructions. Mine is a 2007 that was made in 2006, and I still have to cut that headlight mounting bracket on mine, which will also probably apply to the newer model vehicles as well. Now, the instructions call for taping off these little parts of the body underneath the grill, all the way over, and it just said just to prevent scratches. So I just finished taping that. Masking tape, pretty cheap stuff. Does not come in the box. So this is one of the things that does not come in the box. Step 2 says to remove the license plate bracket, and then step 3 says to unbolt the fog lights, which I don't have fog lights, so I'm still going to look for the harness that comes from the fog lights if this has one. And then step 4, these guys, these little 10mm screws. There's one there, and then there's 2 on the other side. If you're wondering why I put these little diamond plates there, I made a video on installing this. I actually knocked the passenger side one off in a parking garage because there was a row of poles that were all 2 feet tall, so just under the height of the bumper, I guess 3 feet tall. Everything that comes off from the bumper I'm putting in this cup, and I'm just going to set it aside. So now I'm coming down underneath the bumper, and there are more 10mm screws. So just going to undo all of these. There's that one that's just horribly bent in because I slammed into a pole thing. This one, that's tight. I need more leverage to that. Let's put the camera down. There's one there that's bent up. Another one there, and there. I'm not sure if the connector is there on a model that does not come with fog lights. Alright, step 6, we are unbolting the grill. So we're unbolting that. It doesn't say, the instructions don't say that this is necessary. It just says that it makes removing the bumper easier. There's this little plastic snap here. Don't break these. These actually They're pretty easy to break. I've broken quite a few of them in the past. This is a pry tool that's made for a different type of connector, so don't buy one of these thinking that it'll work on this, because you can use it, but since it has less of a surface area on each of the little fork things that hangs off, it's easier to break the connector. So I'm just prying up on one side, prying up on the other side, and I'll just keep alternating. But once that's all the way up, then it comes out fairly easily, just a little wiggling. There we go. So that's out. 10 millimeter. These wires aren't factory, the ones that are there and there. That's for my, my front mount camera. And these are interesting. There's one there and then one there. They come out fairly easily. It doesn't seem like a snap, it seems like more of a guide. Oh, that's what's holding it up. This little lip. And then it slides out. And then it's off. Oh, my camera. They're going to disconnect my camera. If you don't have a camera, and nobody's going to have a camera mounted there unless they did it like I did. So I've got to disconnect that. Oh, and there's a little broken plastic snap down there. I'm going to replace that. There's a plastic snap there. There. And there. And that is the type of plastic snap that is removed with this tool. I don't think I saw that in the instructions yet. But I have extra wires. You won't have that wire that I'm pointing to on your model or that wire. There are two wires that I put. That's aftermarket fog light positive and aftermarket fog light ground. Those aren't on right now. I disconnected those when I pulled off the brush guard because they were mounted to the brush guard. The new fog lights that are going inside that bumper, they will be wired into my existing wiring, not the factory wiring. So if you have the factory wiring, then that's where your steps would differ from mine whenever you get to the fog light installation process. So then you would just follow the instructions, whatever the instructions say. But that on mine is going to be a little bit different. But this looks like it's ready to come off. And then for step 8, we have these 3 little plastic snaps there, and there, and it's just like the ones that were on top of the headlight. That's popping those up the same way. And there's 2 lower ones. There and there. Okay, and that looks like it's it. Everything seems like it's out of the way. Yeah, that's it. Now it's just removing these. These look like they're 14 millimeter, I think, but so the crash bar, that's step 10 is removing the crash bar. This was just sitting there. All right, I got the breaker bar, and this is 14 millimeter, so it's off fairly easily. There are 4 of these on each side. And they're on pretty tight. Like that. And then I have saved the original nuts just to go back on and hold the new bumper on. This upper bumper, they call it the upper bumper shell frame, and this holds the original plastic bumper. There's a 10 millimeter bolt there, and there. It looks like there's just 3, so just unbolt those. That step in the instructions is pretty easy to overlook because it's within another step. So just want to make note of that. I have to cut this bracket off, probably there. It'll still support the headlight, but this bumper support that's not needed anymore because the new bumper is going on. So there is this piece that was that I took that off. That was just one 10 millimeter that was holding that in, and another little screw over there that I took out whenever I did the Bushwhacker Fender Flares. This thing isn't going to be on other FJ Cruisers unless you also did the Bushwhacker Fender Flares like I did. I have a video on that. But there's a 10 millimeter nut that's behind, that's there, 10 millimeter nut here. The one that I took out, there's a 10 millimeter screw that's up there. It's a 10 millimeter head, and it's loose enough to where you can just loosen it with a screwdriver. I can't get the 10 millimeter socket on it without taking off that little trim piece there. So I'll be working on getting that loose, and then it's just wiggling it out. It's a little difficult with the studs there, there, and then there with wiggling it out. And with cutting this off, this was actually pretty straightforward. I tried taking my Dremel to it, and that was taking way too long. So I really just took these wire snips from when I was an electrician. These are really good. I use them to cut screws and things that I've horribly damaged the blade. And it's really like, it's a pretty soft metal. I just ripped it off. I think I moved the camera down when I did that. But I was really just like cut and pull, cut, pull, cut, pull. And I just cut it like scissors. Right, now this new bracket is in place, this little weird L-shaped, Z-shaped thing. So that's in place. That's the original nut that came off that was holding the long bracket that came out here and clamped onto there. That plastic snap actually broke when I was just trying to move it, even though I was trying to move it gently. So it's not like it's a big deal. I'm not reusing it. But this, I do want to be careful. I don't want to bend this too much. So I'm not going to bend it where it's already bent. I'm gonna hold this part. I don't want to exaggerate this bend more, so I'm just going to hold this and then bend this section up and pivot that, because I don't want to overbend this and have to bend it back, so I do want to be really careful. So I'm not bending it up here, because if I do, it's going to bend at this pivot point. The instructions don't talk about doing this, but I don't want to increase the risk of this failing at that spot. And this bent nicely. It didn't pivot off of down here because I held this in place. So I didn't make that bend more aggressive whenever I bent this. I just bent it from up here. So that's good. So I don't really have to worry about that. I grabbed my copper wire. This is one of their 4mm hex screws. And then there's a 10mm nut that goes on the back of it. And I really just kind of sandwiched the copper between that and the washer, and then hopefully other kits come with that. I don't know. It showed it in the picture, and it said that it was a thing that this was supposed to come with. Step 15 is putting the factory grill back on, and then after that, it's mounting the winch mounting plate. All right, and this is the winch tray. It's kind of heavy, so you might need 2 people if you wanted to help guide it on. So I'm just going to put it in place and then put a one nut to hold it in on one side and one to hold it on the other side, and then I'll cinch it down and do the others. Right now, as you can see, there's a spacing on each side, so I just have one nut in on that side and one on this side, and this is about probably like a 1/4 inch gap. And then this one is just a little sliver. So I'll have to bring it over this way because I want those gaps to be the same, just so that it's perfectly centered on the vehicle and it doesn't look offset. Right, and with these nuts, I just went to, it said follow the manufacturer specifications for original torque. Tried looking through online, I couldn't find that. I just did 80. I figure that's about what I've tightened 14mm nuts in the past anyway. And this is heavier. This is a lot heavier than the stock. So I mean, the stock it's holding like probably a 10-pound crash bar. This thing is about 50 pounds, I think, 40, 50 pounds. But these have all been tightened to 80 foot-pounds. Step 17 says if you have a winch, go ahead and install that now. I'm skipping that step because my winch is on order. It's a Warn VR10 Evo steel cable. And in my next video, I'll be pulling the bumper off to put the winch in and then putting the bumper back on. So check out the next video after this one, and I'll be doing the winch install. All right, my bumper's still kind of in the box, but it says the next step, step 18, is to install the little window bezels, and mine are already installed, so I'm not doing that. And this next step, step 19, said to modify the vehicle fog light connector, but I have not seen a fog light connector because this did not come with fog lights from the factory, so I still haven't seen whether I have one or not. Right. Steps 20 and 21 are regarding the fog lights. So it said in step 20 to install the bracket, and then on 21 mount the light, but the instructions showed a circle light, and these are obviously not circle. I did have to not use one of the washers that was supplied with it, because it was like a spacer down here, and that dropped the fog lights too low, and they're still kind of too low. But I haven't aligned them yet. I'll be aligning them after this is all set up. So it's really just putting them in place so that they're out of the way. Now step 22, this is where your fair lead rollers would be installed along with your license plate bracket. So the license plate bracket goes on against the bumper and then the fair lead roller goes on top of that. I will be getting my fair lead rollers with my worn VR10 Evo kit that will be coming in the mail, and I'll be installing that in the follow-on video after this video. So this little bracket, this little T bracket, this goes inside the bumper and sits there after the bumper is mounted, so that you can bolt the bolts through this side, and I'm guessing that 2 more fender washers are going to go on the other side of the bolts whenever those go on. These tabs face inward towards the fog lights, according to the picture. Right, and I was able to pick up the bumper and put it on pretty much by myself. I can't use these unless I buy new bolts to go through them. The reason is, whenever they made the bolts where they go into, it's just enough of a bolt to go through to where when it's tightened down, there's nothing coming out of the back of the nut under normal circumstances. That's not even using the spacer, which means if you use the 1/8 inch spacer, you have an 1/8 of an inch that's not going through that nut. If you use a 1/4 inch spacer, you have a 1/4 inch that's not going through the nut. If you try to double them up, then I don't even know if it's really going through the nut at all at that point. You just have to mount this guy to the bottom. It's a little thing. I really don't know what this is for. It says it's a washer fluid reservoir cover, but I don't even think I'm going to put it on, because why? It's not even covering anything. I don't know. I'll think about whether I want to do that or not. I've trimmed this plastic. I just pretty much cut straight across the middle, but I've got to trim that little corner off because it's a little high. This bracket goes on like this, but behind the bumper and inside the bumper. So I'm going to crawl under there. Hopefully it doesn't fall on me. Make sure that it's nice and resting well before I get under and try to do that. If you're doing this by yourself, it is doable. But it's a lot easier with a second person. But if you're doing this by yourself, the bumper is the heaviest part. But when you're attaching the bumper to the winch tray, what I did, because my helper had to go inside, so instead of waiting, I just decided to go at it on my own to see if I could do it. And it is doable. I heard that you need 2 people, but if you don't have a winch, you can do it with 1 person. What I did is I had my right arm through here, and you can feel like the bolt that cinches the bumper down is underneath my finger, and I had my left arm underneath the bumper holding the T-bracket, which is a really awkward position. All right, it is all mounted, and 90%. I'm 90% done. Fog lights. So this is the wires that come with the fog lights. Plenty of room for you to. So these would each connect to the fog light. Then you would route them up, zip tie them, and then put them in place. Put the relay somewhere, fasten it, connect this to positive, this to negative, and then this would go into your interior somewhere. You can wire it up that way. This is pretty easy to do the way they set it up. I mean, obviously red is positive, black's negative. Put the relay somewhere, and as long as the wires aren't rubbing against anything hot or anything that's moving, you should be pretty good. Put this in the interior and then snap it in somewhere. But I don't like the way this switch looks. I mean, it is kind of cool. It's got the dust cap around it, but I will be running it in through my fog lights. And if you want to see how that's done, I have videos on installing that, installing the roof lights, and then installing my reverse off-road lights that really kind of turn them on whenever I want, but I have them triggered to where they only come on when I have it in reverse and when I have the switch flipped. So I talk about that wiring. I have my fuse and relay box here, and I talk about how that's set up, and then how I have the fog lights wired into the factory light system so that it's not powered when the vehicle's off, and there's no risk of somebody driving my vehicle and draining the battery. So if you want to see that and how to install the fog lights, then check out those videos. I'll have those in the description. But this is pretty much it. I'm really happy with how this came out, with the exception of how I slammed into the 3-foot tall pole that caved in that side of the vehicle. So I've got to pull that out. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, leave suggested ideas on other videos that you want to see, or check out my links in the description for the videos that I have on this stuff or on this thing. Either way, all that fun stuff. But hey, thanks a lot for watching, and God bless you guys.